Hi, welcome to another episode of At Straight Lions Talk. My name is Travis. I'm your host. Here, all we talk about is strictly Lions football. And this last week, the Lions finished their 2015 NFL draft. We're going to be discussing a few of the players they took. A lot of mixed speculation around there of what the Lions did do in the draft. People weren't real happy with it. I thought they did a very, very good job for the draft they had to deal with this year and the players that were available. We're going to discuss that. I have a few questions, maybe some picks I would have liked to see go a different way. But last week we did a mock draft show, and we went through some of the players we'd like to see the Lions pick, some of the needs we thought they had. I think they did a good job addressing some of those needs in this draft. It was probably the first time I've seen Martin Mayhew maybe take best player available for the need they had on the team. And I feel this draft was that way. I think this draft was set up with a group of players that if you had need at defensive tackle, wide receiver, tight end, or cornerback, you took that group of players for that need and you just picked the highest one and then drafted it accordingly. This draft didn't have a lot of home run hitters after pick 10, a lot of definite going to be star guys. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see some guys that transition higher than some of the top 10 picks that we may pick later in the later rounds, but that's 3 years down the road more than likely. Let's get into it. Okay, the Lions, with their first pick this year in the 2015 NFL Draft, selected Laken Tomlinson, guard out of Duke. He's 323 pounds, 6'3". My initial reaction to this pick, I kind of cocked my head and raised my eyebrow and thought, a little early. I thought he could have got him in the second round. A lot of rumors. I heard reports from some people that the Patriots really wanted this guy. They had him targeted as one of their guys. I thought it was a little early for him, but one thing the Lions did do well is they didn't take their pick at 23. They traded back from 23 to 28, and they picked up a fifth-round pick this year, a fifth-round pick next year, and they got Maynard Ramirez from the Denver Broncos. The Broncos moved up to 23 and took Shane Ray. Now, maybe there's some people out there that thought we should have taken Shane Ray. I personally don't like Shane Ray's turf toe problem. I really like what the Lions did here. They added a guard, and they added another guard with the pick, plus got a pick for next year, and they had another fifth-round pick they added to their draft. But a few things on Tomlinson here. This is the pick that you have to make, and everyone complains that we never make, but then we make it, and everyone complains that we made it. Tomlinson is solid. He is a bruiser, a beast. Like I said, he's 6'3", 223 pounds. He plays guard. He can play center. He's very versatile. He can move, good feet. Could do a little bit better in pass protection, but he's a road grader when it comes to run blocking. And this is something the Lions needed. You remember, Dominic Raiola's not there. Rob Sims isn't there. We went from a line that was kind of old and maybe a little bit needed a few pieces here and there to we have a very young, athletic offensive line. We have Riley Reif. Laken Tomlinson will probably take Rob Sims' spot. Travis Swanson will play center. Larry Warford will play the right guard position. And then the right tackle position will be held down by Le'Adrian Waddle. Hopefully he can come back with a healthy season and show the kind of talent he showed his rookie year. That would be phenomenal for the Lions. But this offensive line gives us an interior group that we've never had and that maybe I haven't seen since maybe the early Barry Sanders days when we kind of had a nice inside offensive line with Quinn. It's slipping my mind. Anyway, I really like the pick. The pick I really wanted was Cam Erving at 23, but the Browns took him. And when we moved back to 28, I thought there's a possibility we could probably get Philip Dorsett at 28. He went the next pick at 29 to the Colts. I heard from a source that the Lions did have an interest in taking Philip Dorsett, but I think, like I said, Laken Tomlinson's the pick we had to take, and it's the pick we always say the Lions should take, and we took him. So it's a good pick. I really like the pick. We have a tough schedule this year. Logistically, we have a lot of travel games. We play in London. We play in the West Coast twice. We go to Seattle. I really like the pick. A good offensive line travels well. And on paper, our offensive line is young, athletic, and we're big. I got some size to our offensive line. We went through a period there where we were getting light offensive linemen, and I really like the pick. I think it was a home run pick. To me, it was a little early, but if that's your guy and that's who you want, and you think he's going to be gone in 10 picks, big deal. You took him 28, but I really like the pick. With their second round pick, the Lions took Ameer Abdullah, running back out of Nebraska. I kind of had a feeling the Lions were going to take running back here because it was too much of a position of need for the Lions. They weren't going to go into the season with Joyke Bell and Theo Riddick as their two running backs and then try to pick some guy up on the street and George Wynn. That wasn't going to happen. I personally wanted Duke Johnson. I was turned on to Duke Johnson by a guy named Scott Bischoff. He's on a show that's hosted by Scott Belesian, 961 here in the Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids area in Michigan. It's probably his best guess. I love that, just to listen to that guy talk about players and how they fit for the scheme and their abilities. And most of the time, his players do translate very well to the pros. He has a very good eye for that. I would love to sit down sometime with him. I said this on my previous video. Scott Bischoff, if you ever watch this, I would love to sit down and just talk draft on the phone, whatever. It's probably Sean Belesian's best guest he has. He just knocks it out of the park every time. But with that said, Duke Johnson, I thought, fit the Lions a little bit better. He's a little more versatile a player than Ameer Abdullah. He just did a few things better to me. But if you watch the YouTube videos on it, you watch both of them, you put them side by side, the videos, they look a lot alike. It's kind of who you liked, and the Lions liked Abdullah. I don't have a problem with it. He's tough. He doesn't miss games. He's not injured a lot. Needs to work on his pass blocking a little bit, but most running backs coming into the league do. Very good pass catcher out of the backfield. He only had 24 receptions in college, but he played at Nebraska, and Nebraska's not really known for their quarterback play there, let's say. But he does have a burst. He hits that hole, and he is gone. I think this is the pick Mayhew wanted to make here. I think he reminded him of Javid Best in my eyes. A lot of people say he reminds him of Trey Mason from St. Louis, who was with Auburn a year ago. He was a rookie last year for the Rams. I think, to me, he reminds me more of Javid Best and what Javid Best did and could do when he was with the Lions before he got hurt. And I personally think that's always bothered Mayhew, that Javid Best got injured, because he was a home run pick. Everyone labels it as a bust because of the questionable concussion problem he had coming out of college. But they had to take a chance, and there for a year or so it looked great. It looked like they hit a home run with the pick. He just got injured. And I think Abdullah is going to fill that role. He'll probably be more of a third down back, but I think he's going to be in a lot of packages with the Lions, and they're going to do a lot of different things with him, line him up in the slot. He can play really well in space, and with Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate and Eric Ebron, if he can step up, this is going to be a very, very good pick. It's going to open up the field, and I think Matthew Stafford and Joe Lombardi in their second year with this offense, good things can happen. Having those big offensive linemen, giving Stafford time to step up into the pocket with Tomlinson and having the option to hand off to Abdullah, I think is going to give Stafford a lot more options. I think he's going to have a better season, and he might not have to throw all the time. I think he'll give us a lot more third and shorts. So with that said, I really like the first two picks. I think they were A-plus picks. They were needs we needed, and we got value with those needs. We didn't reach. We didn't take the super sexy player. Tomlinson's not the fantasy guy you want to see. I mean, Philip Dorsett would have been awesome with the first pick. I mean, it would have just been great to have him and the things you could do, but if we can't protect Stafford, it doesn't matter. So with the first two picks, I really like what the Lions did. In the third round, here's where some of the questions come up. We took Alex Carter, cornerback out of Stanford. Again, I raised my eyebrow and thought, So I went back and did some research on him, watched a couple videos on him, and made a couple phone calls to some people. And I really didn't get the pick, but I guess I understand the pick years down the road. To me, he moves and plays and hunts like a safety. The way he moves around the field, he's a superb tackler. Good ball instincts, plays fast. He's long, athletic, loves to tackle. He's a world beater on tackling. Just comes up and just hits guys. I personally would have liked to seen us maybe take a different player at 3. I thought there were some more options there. We also traded up to get Carter. I didn't feel like we had to trade up to get him. All we gave up was a 5th-round pick. I'm not really that upset about it. It was the one we got, or it was our pick, and we used the one in the 5th round, and we kept the one in the 5th round that Denver gave us for the trading back at 23. A couple, 3 or 4 players here that I thought maybe the Lions should have taken is that Carl Davis, defensive tackle out of Iowa. I thought he would have been a good fit there. Ty Montgomery, wide receiver out of Stanford, who went to Green Bay, the typical Green Bay receiver, built like Randall Cobb, same measurables, same weight, almost identical. They have a model there they hit, and if I were the Lions that run that same offense, I might start copying that model. Just a hint. Trey Jackson was their offensive guard from Florida State. We took Laken Tomlinson in the 1st round, so that probably wasn't real low on their list. The guy I really, really, really like there, and it would have been back-to-back running backs, is Jeremy Langford. Excuse me. That guy is incredible. Highly productive at Michigan State. I don't think he got the recognition he deserved coming out for the draft. And he ran well. He blocks well. He played in the pro-style system. He knows how to run between guards and tackles. He's a receiver out of the backfield. And, of course, he went to the Bears. Of course. I think Tomlinson would have been Langford would have been a great player to have to take Joyke Bell's place maybe in a year or two, because Joyke Bell's 29, and I think he would have been a great option to replace Bell. Just he looked a lot like Le'Veon Bell. I think Mark D'Antonio at Michigan State has a model and a mold that he likes his running backs to be, and they always seem to be a lot like Bell and Langford, that type of guy. They look a lot like that. I have a total man crush on Langford. I think he's going to be great. I wish he would have went anywhere else other than in our division. And Ty Montgomery went to the Packers. So we'll see how those 2 players work out. And just, I'll reference this video if I'm right. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I think those 2 players are going to be superb. I really felt like that was a better pick for us, even though it would have been running back, and it would have been questioned. But I really felt like those 2 picks would have been better. And Carl Davis is a phenomenal defensive tackle, explosive, quick twitch. I think he would have been a very, very good player in Terrell Austin's defense there. But with that said, Carter is the player we did pick. So I think he can beat out Bill Bentley for sure. I think he's better than Bill Bentley is right now, and Bill Bentley can't stay healthy. So I understand the pick. I understand why we took cornerback, because it's a need. We need a cornerback. And Mayhew has been, I said this in my last video, that Mayhew usually takes cornerback in the later rounds, and he's had a pretty good track record with it. I personally, I'm going to say this, I have a man crush on Nevin Lawson too. I think the kid is going to be phenomenal covering the slot. You have Carter, you have Darius Slay. With Mathis there, he can kind of show Carter how the ropes, because Mathis isn't overall really that fast. So, I don't know. I think, to me, I see Carter as our safety of the future. I think he's going to be a superb safety, but they'll try him out at corner like they always do with that pick. But I still think they got some good value. A few questions on trading up, but, I mean, who knows what's going on in the draft rooms, and you hear rumors and maybe other people like him. And if that's the guy they targeted, we just got to trust it and go with it. It was a need. They filled it with the best player on their board for the cornerback position. And right now, in the first 3 picks, we filled needs that this team desperately needed. And sometimes the big name isn't always the reason why you win. You go back and look at the Seattle Seahawks drafts when they had Richard Sherman in them. If you look at those drafts and pretend to go back when you were there and watched those drafts and knew those players, you would have thought, man, what kind of draft is this? This looks terrible. And all those players hit, almost every one. You can't argue with it. Those players I mentioned before, Trey Jackson, Ty Montgomery, Carl Davis, and Jeremy Langford, they were all available, but you just got to go with the Lions board, and they've had a pretty good track record in the 3rd round, so I think Carter, he could work out. He's long, athletic, he's a smart guy. All these guys are scholar athletes, so I kind of understood the theme we were going with this year. We had a lot more brains over brawn, and I will say that character does win in the 4th quarter, so with the first three picks, I really like what the Lions have done so far. 4th round, we didn't have a 4th round pick. I thought Mayhew was great on day 3 and aggressive by trading back into the 4th round and getting a player they targeted. They took Gabe Wright, Auburn, defensive tackle. I thought that's the one player I got right in my mock draft. Was I thought they could take Gabe Carter in the 4th if they could trade back in. They had to give up a 3rd round pick to trade back in to the Eagles. I was a little upset at first, but then I remembered next year we're going to get compensation picks for Fairley, for Sue, so we're probably going to get a 3rd for Sue, so we'll get that pick back, so we'll still have a full slate of draft picks. And who knows how things are going to go trading-wise anyway. We might trade down again next year. I really like this pick. Gabe Wright, he is a very quick twitch guy, big, athletic. He fits right into the Lions' rotation with Haloti Ngata, Walker, and Reed. So we have 4 guys now. And in my personal opinion, I don't think our defensive line is as in bad a shape as everyone thinks. Nick Fairley really didn't give us anything consistently. He gave us flashes of brilliance and his talent. And, of course, Ndamukong Suh was awesome. He was the best defensive player. He made up 2 players with him. He was so good. But we obviously weren't going to pay that money, and he wasn't going to stay in Detroit when he could make $30 million more with the Miami Dolphins. So, but I like our rotation. I think Terrell Austin will be able to do a lot of different things. I think he'll have more options. We're a little deeper at that position now. I didn't have a problem with the pick. I mean, he traded up. We needed a defensive tackle. Now we have four solid guys. I think that Reed is going to turn out to be a pretty decent player, maybe a rotational guy in the league, but I don't think he's going to be much of a bust. But Gabe Wright, I really like the pick. A lot of potential there. Hopefully they can get it out of him. Doesn't really have a bad rep. He fell about the round he needed to fall in. He kind of had a third-round grade on him early. Early mock drafts had him with a second-round grade. I think if Auburn had a more aggressive defensive coordinator like they do now, last year, I think he would have been a higher pick. Auburn isn't really known for their defense under Gus Malzahn, and they hired a new defensive coordinator last year. His name is slipping me. He's a big-time guy. I think it's the former coach of Florida. Used to be the defensive coordinator at Texas. I think he's the new D coordinator there. He would have gotten more out of him, I believe, and would have been a higher pick. But I love the pick there. So far, I think the Lions have done a phenomenal job in the draft. Only one little question mark with Carter trading up for him was my biggest thing. And I just thought maybe there's a few more needs there. In the fifth round, we took Michael Burton, fullback out of Rutgers. Now, this was the biggest problem I had in the draft. In my piece last week, in the mock draft, I thought that the Lions needed to get value out of round 5 because we didn't have a round 4 pick unless we traded back in, which we did, and we took Gabe Wright. Burton fullback. That's kind of the face I made and the attitude I had when he made the pick. I didn't get it. I know we needed a fullback because Jed Collins left, but I still didn't understand taking fullback in round 5. The last 2 years, we haven't really killed it round 5, but I think there was value there. A couple players to mention, Max Valleys, out of defensive tackle out of Virginia, was there. Long guy, more of a project guy, but he's more of a proven guy. Played in the SEC, the ACC. like Nick O'Leary. A lot of people don't like Nick O'Leary because he doesn't block and he grades out bad. But here's the one thing Nick O'Leary did. Every time you watched him play, he made plays. Highly productive. He reminds me of Todd Heap. I think he could have been an option there. I know we took Eric Ebron last year, but tight end is a key position in that offense we have now. So that could have been an option for just more value. The player I really wanted was Michael Bennett, defensive tackle from Ohio State. That he fell. That he went a few picks later. I just don't understand why Michael Bennett fell to the 6th round. They said because of size, because he was on a great team. Maybe he made plays because other guys were on the outside. For whatever reason, the only thing I saw Michael Bennett do was make plays in big games all the time. Motor never stopped. He wasn't lazy. He's a smart player. He was quick, athletic. He had a quick burst off the line. I don't know what people saw. I think this is a player that another team stole from the Lions. I would love to know what their grade was on him and why they were down on him. Maybe he doesn't fit their scheme in Detroit, but with him and Gabe Wright, that would have been I just think he would have been a very good fit for the Lions and what we needed right then and there. With that said, Michael Burton, fullback out of Rutgers, he was a team captain, highly intelligent guy. All these guys so far that we've taken were very good students, very good character guys. And I will say, talent wins the first 3 quarters, character wins in the 4th, and we've seen it time and time again as Lions fans. We collapse in the 4th quarter. Joe Gibbs used to say character wins in the 4th quarter. And right now, we have 4, technically 5 character guys. But Michael Burton in the 5th, I thought it was a little early. I didn't understand it. But maybe they have a bigger role for him. I just didn't. I don't know where he ranked on draft boards. I don't even know if he would have got drafted. It's hard to say. I just felt like there was more value there. That's the biggest question mark I have in this draft is round 5. Alex Carter made me raise my eyebrow, but I understood it, and he did have a real high grade value or draft grade value, so I kind of got the pick. Michael Burton, I didn't get that one, so I kind of think the Lions screwed up there. I think not in the sense that we didn't need him. I just think we could have gotten him later, 7th round, 6th round, but it's hard to say. They liked him, they targeted him, they took him. I think he's going to fit in with what we need, but I don't see him on the field a whole bunch. Unless we're going to become a power team, we're just going to run power I all the time. Which I hope not, but, I don't want to be the Jets with Mark Sanchez. It's hard to say. I guess we'll see in the training camp and preseason games and things of that nature. The 6th round. Now, the 6th round, I think the Lions knocked it out of the park. Quandre Diggs, cornerback out of Texas. He's the younger brother to Quentin Jammer. Remember, the Lions almost drafted him a few years ago. It was one of Matt Millen's second draft, and we didn't take him. He ended up being a pro for about 12 years with the San Diego Chargers. That's great value in the 6th round to get a guy of Quentin Diggs' stature for all the games he played in college. He played in big conferences. With a big conference, he played in huge games, bowl games, 4-year starter. He only ran a 4.5, but he's one of those guys that runs 4.5 that on tape, when you watch him, he doesn't look like he's running 4.5 on the field. He takes good angles to the ball. He has good anticipation, good ball skills. He can get beat deep a little bit on some routes. Needs a little technique work here and there, but I think he and Carter are going to beat out Wilson and Bentley for the jobs, the 5th and 6th cornerback job on the team. I really like this pick. I think the Lions couldn't have done it any better right here. I was kind of banging the table for Trey McBride, but I didn't know Quandre Diggs was still on the board. I think it's a great value pick. I just like the pick. He's long, athletic. I kind of see what the Lions are going for. They're going for the thicker 200-pound type built cornerbacks to take on these bigger and quicker receivers in the league. I really like what they did here. This is a good player. A lot of experience. I think he's going to be out Bill Bentley and Wilson for sure. The 7th round, the Lions selected Corey Robertson. Okay, sweet. The cons against him, he's a project. He's very inconsistent. You watch tape on him, he gets beat by Fowler. And I understand Fowler was a top 5 pick and a lot of people got beat, but there were times he just looked bad, just bad getting beat. They say he needs a lot of technique work, and I agree with that. And I also heard through some people that he is very lazy. So we'll see. Time will tell. Maybe when he gets into a pro locker room, his attitude and his work ethic will change. But sometimes that I really, if the biggest knock for me, if I were a scout, was if I heard the kid's lazy and doesn't want to work. But it's the pick. It's just a project pick. I mean, the pros, I understand why they took him. He has a huge punch on initial contact, and he's super strong, big, athletic, good feet. I understand to be enamored with it, but I don't know if you're going to change someone that has been that way for the last 10 years. It usually doesn't work that way. That was the last pick the Lions had in the 7th round, was Corey Robertson. Overall, my perspective of the draft, I think the Lions did a very good job with Laken Tomlinson round 1, Ameer Abdullah round 2, round 3, Alex Carter, Gabe Wright in the 4th. I think their first 4 picks were solid foundation guys. They're not going to be probably all pros, but I think Laken Tomlinson could be a 10-year pro. He has that ability. Ameer Abdullah, we'll see. I think the Lions are going to find a way to build some packages with him in the offense. Alex Carter, I think, could just be a very solid player. I think he might be able to transition into the safety position if James Ahedabone does not come back as a Lion next year. I believe he signed a 2-year deal with the Lions. Gabe Wright, great rotational guy. If we're able to retain Haloti Ngata for a couple more years, it'd be a good guy for him to learn under. It was a Raven pick. This is the type of guy the Ravens would pick in that hybrid 3-4 defense rerun, 4-3, 3-4 defense. I like the pick. It was great. With him, we have Walker. Well, we only signed Walker to a 1-year deal. And I like our rotation. I like the players we have. I think we'll be a very tough defensive line again. I think we'll be tough against the run. He's a very good run defender. I think it's going to work good. 5th round, Michael Burton. That's the biggest question I have. I just felt there was more talent there. Some other names that we could have easily taken, and I don't know. Fullback in the 5th round wasn't super exciting, and I didn't think it was a player that was going to be on the field consistently. I thought maybe we could have offensive linemen. Like I said, Nick O'Leary, Max Valleys. I would have rather seen something like that. That guy that maybe would be on the field a little bit more and maybe more of a little bit better option. Quandre Diggs. I love that pick. I think it's great. Corey Robinson, whatever. We'll see. I'd probably be lucky to make the team, but I'm a practice squad guy. A little preview for next year's draft. Here's who I like right now going into the 2016 draft for the Detroit Lions. Like I said, James Ahedabone probably won't be back with the Lions next year. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He's holding out right now. Maybe we re-sign him to a bigger deal. But I like Jalen Ramsey, safety, Florida State. Check out his YouTube tape. It's phenomenal. You'll see what I'm talking about once you check it out. It's great. That wraps up this edition of Straight Lions Talk. Our next one probably won't be for a while. Not a lot going on right now. This is the dead time of the NFL. It's horrible. All we have is baseball and NBA playoffs and hockey. So it'll probably be training camp before you hear from me again. And I'll see you guys then.